What is up, friends? Rob here. Some know me as the Medicare Minister in the industry that I'm in. And today I have a powerhouse couple with me. Anthony and Rickeyta Starks are in the house, and I know they're going to spit some serious fire. Say what's up, guys, real quickly.
Going on?
Hello. Thank you so much for having us, Rob.
Absolutely. I know this is a God-ordained appointment, and there's going to be tons of value. So get your notepads out. Go back and listen to this multiple times, because I know there's going to be something shared today that's going to call out the leader that I believe God has placed in all of you today. So I just want to encourage you to don't go anywhere. Listen to this as many times as possible, because the reason I do this is because I want you to win. I truly believe that all of you were created on purpose for a purpose by a divine creator. So isn't it about time that you start living on purpose in 2022? And I know something this power couple is going to say to you today. It's going to more than motivate you, but it's going to divinely inspire you to start betting on yourself in 2022. So guys, once again, thank you so much for being on. I was truly inspired by your 8% virtual talk a couple of weeks back, and want to dive into some of that here shortly. But before we do that, I always like to ask my guests to give me a little intro, a little story. I call it a Sports Center highlight. For the sake of time, could you give me a 30,000 in the audience, a 30,000 foot view, a little bit of the past, right? Maybe some of that transition time up to what you guys are doing today.
Okay. Well, I'm Anthony Rickeyta, and this is my wife, Rickeyta Starks. I'm so used to doing Anthony Rickeyta Starks just on the intro. But yeah, so we're insurance agency owners. We're people of faith. We believe God first, family second, business third, in that order. And so from there, we love to help married couples in business, work with their spouse. So what we've learned in our own insurance industry, we have a coaching business that we help share those same principles with other people.
Okay.
And so he got into insurance in 2009, I believe. And he started there as an independent agent. And so then he went back into corporate America after doing that. And then in 2014, he started our agency, what we have now, Financial Freedom Insurance. And I started out just data entry. We had our newborn son, and I just couldn't go back into asking for time off or things like that. So I couldn't go back into the workforce like the traditional way. And so I'm doing data entry, nursing at the same time. He's up at 12 in the morning doing enrollments and things like that. So that's how I got into it. And then I got licensed shortly after. And so we've been running ever since. And we've been running through walls, bumping our heads a few times, and we've learned so much, and so excited for where we are now, the growth that's come from it.
Yes.
And I wouldn't change any of it.
Yes.
Yeah, no, amen to that. I watched a couple of interviews with you guys, so I wanted to ask questions because I like to do my research whenever I'm interviewing people. And Anthony, you talked about how your father really influenced you in the entrepreneur space, you know, from a very young age. What was one entrepreneurial trait or principle or habit that you learned from him that you believe helped set you up for success now?
I would say number one is having your own idea and running with it. There's a lot of times people call him crazy for things that he did, because he didn't have a job since he was 14. He always did in and out things, and he ended up eventually opening his own tax business. But when I was a kid, he first helped me get going by selling candy. So I started selling candy snacks in school as a young age. And then in elementary, you talk about middle school, high school. In my senior year, I actually bought 3 cars cash as a senior in high school. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And when I heard you say that in another interview, it really took me back, because I'm 47. And back in the day, we used to sell Fun Dip in a little plastic bag, you know, the little stick, and you would go sell little bags of Fun Dip, and people were paying good money for Fun Dip back in school back in the day. So sound like we had some similarities there early on in the entrepreneur space. Well, I also saw where you guys posted on Facebook that you became certified Brian Tracy coaches and speakers. Is that correct?
certified speakers.
Speaker.
We got
Okay.
trained.
So let me ask you this. Why Brian Tracy? What is there a favorite saying or favorite quote that really resonated with you guys that pushed you that direction?
Oh, yes. Two books that really influenced that decision. One, The Psychology of Selling, tremendous books for people who are in sales. And then Eat That Frog. Eat That Frog is really tying down procrastination, getting out of the habit of procrastination. And those books really changed our lives, especially mine with Eat That Frog, because I have a habit of putting things off. And he's like, no, let's get to it. Let's do it now. Eat the frog, eat the ugliest one you have in your face, the biggest one, get it out the way, and then the other ones won't be as bad. But that book really changed our lives. And so we were like, you know what? If he's trained so many people in speaking, in entrepreneurship, sales, and things like that, we know what he can do for us. And we're trying to go to the next level of being the #1 speakers in the world. And so we wanted to get trained by one of the #1 speakers in the world. And so that's why we chose him, just from those two books. Just captivated.
No, I love Brian Tracy too. I'm a self-help, positive, faith-based content junkie, man. I'm always consuming it. So I totally agree. And one of the things I was thinking about as you were talking, Rickeyta, is, as people of faith, and tell me if you guys have experienced this. I see a lot of times when you're coaching people or people that want to start their own business, they use the phrase, I'll pray about it. But I believe in regards to procrastination that sometimes faith-based people can use prayer to procrastinate. Have you guys seen that as well?
Oh yeah, people love using prayer as a cop-out. I'm just waiting on God. I'm just waiting on God. Yeah, you pray, but faith without works is dead. So as you pray, you show your faith by your works. So you go do the work, and then God will move along with you. So
man, you spitting some fire now, man. I'm looking for the choir, man. y'all were preaching there, but it's true. And people say, I'm praying about it. And then another year goes by and they're still praying about it. And God's up there going, listen, I want you to take action. Right. So right now, as we're stopping here in this moment, this interview, what is one thing for them these faith-based people? I'm just going to speak to them for a minute, but it could apply to everyone. What is one practical tip that somebody could overcome that? Is it just taking action? Is there something that really motivated you guys, like reading that book or something else?
I would say this, just to kind of just jump in there. First, you want to see somebody else's boldness. And what I've learned, when you see somebody else's boldness, it gives you more confidence. And what I mean by that, if you go look in the scriptures, look at Moses. He wasn't qualified, but he was called. At that point, he took action, and he went to the Red Sea, and he did what God told him to do. That's when the Red Sea parted. There was not going to be any part of the Red Sea until he took action. God gave instructions. Now it's time for him to take action. And you just go throughout the whole Bible, and you're looking at David and Goliath. Again, this young boy slays big Goliath because of his faith taking action upon it. And then he see the unreal happen. What's impossible with man is possible with God. So as you see that, now that gives you the confidence to step forward and try it, and then you'll be amazed. God will just blow your mind what he is able to do.
Yeah.
Well, I heard somebody. Oh, I'm sorry, Rickeyta. Were you going to say something?
No, go ahead.
Okay. No, and speaking of faith, I heard it said one time, it really resonated with me, that people of faith, our faith doesn't deny the reality, the circumstances, but it defies them. And so it's putting more trust in God's character, his promises, yes and amen. We know that from scripture, more than our present circumstances.
Right.
Right. And I hear you guys preaching that is listen, I'm trusting God. He's called me. I'm leaning into him. He said he's got me. He's saying no weapon shall formed against me shall prosper. And I'm just going to lean into what he's called me to do. Is that what you guys are preaching?
Exactly. A lot of times we can get so caught up in the world view of what we're seeing in front of us that we're not looking at what he's called us to do. And we act like we have so much time that we don't. And we get to the point where all right, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna plan this out. I'm gonna plan it perfectly and all these things. And he's called you to do it now. We don't know what our expiration date is. He didn't give us that. So we're acting like we have tomorrow when he said, what he say in the word?
No, now, no. He's telling you to wait.
He said, don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow has its own troubles. Like now, I gave you this vision now. Let's do it now. I didn't give you when you're going to be here and when you're not. So when it tells you something, take action.
But I will say this. I mean, that's ultimately what faith is the evidence of things not seen yet hoped for. Because again, if he gave you step by step, then it wouldn't be faith. It would just be head knowledge in your brain that you're just taking action on. So he intentionally doesn't give you all of it to test you. So that's what faith is.
Yeah. And I just got to stop here and look in the camera real quickly. If you're watching this today, when this drops in a few weeks, that right there is a nugget that you need to go back and listen to, because a lot of times, and the Starks are agreeing with me on this, is any entrepreneur, faith-based entrepreneur or non-faith-based, but we're talking faith-based for a minute. God's not going to give you the whole entire blueprint in many cases, or he hasn't ever for me. And I think it's because he knew I would get prideful. Right. And so he just gave me that one step at a time and said, you got to trust me. You got to trust me. You got to trust me. And it's really interesting that when you got to trust at that level, when the rubber's got to meet the road, so to speak, that it is a next level faith, but there's a next level breakthrough on the other side of that step. So, appreciate you guys sharing that so much. All right, back to our regular scheduled program. I just wanted to stop for a second and talk about that. I know you guys work together. I've watched other interviews, talked about, you're more, I think you said the head and the heart, I think is the way that you guys program it. My wife and I are the same way. She's customer service. I'm driven, intense all the time, wake up, ready to go. She helps calm me down, pump the brakes, and is the kindness and the customer service and all of that. What is one ingredient, if you will, that rises to the top, that if there's some people out there watching this that want to work together as husband and wife, that they need in order for this to work? Is there one that rises to the top?
Clearly define roles and responsibilities.
Yes.
Okay.
You can elaborate on that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, roles and responsibilities, because for me, like I said, I'm so used to doing it, getting it done. And sometimes, and I always use this analogy, I've been told this before, you're the type of person who likes to throw the oop and go dunk it too. Yeah. So at that point, it's, hey, you have a person who's going to throw the oop and there's a person who has to dunk the ball. So if you're going to work together, you're really going to have to understand what your strengths are. And then I don't like to say I have any weaknesses, what I'm less strong in. My wife is typically strong in that area. And then what she's less strong in, I'm strong in those areas. So then it's, hey, you know what? You take the lead on that. I take the lead on this. And when we stay in our lanes, then we have a lot less conflict. And so typically conflict arises when we are overstepping each other's strong points.
Sure. And because I know you guys are, be speakers and coaches and you work with people now. What is one tip that you give them? Like when the clear defining roles, is that something that they write on a piece of paper? Is that something that, they go and get some kind of therapy? Is that a book that, really ministered to you guys that you recommend? Or how do you recommend taking that first step to clearly defining those roles?
So I actually wrote about this in my book, The Marriage and Business Survival Guide. It's writing down all the tasks, write down a list of all things that need to be done in the business, all the things that you do in the business, one thing at a time, everything you do. And then group things based on departments. So some things are HR, some things are customer service, some things are, sales. And then some things are just management. So group things based on the things that you do, and then put a person over that department. So that's how you would easily do that.
Yeah, my wife says sometimes that I'm so intense that I want to get things done that everything's an emergency. I'm always just ready to go. And I've had to learn how just to let things go to her, right? And let her handle the customer service and all of that. And so as we've learned that role ourselves, we've gained a lot more momentum and we're getting a lot more done because you're not butting the heads of, trying to not having those clearly defined roles. And I'll put that book in our description. Is it on Amazon? Can you get it on Amazon?
Yeah, you can grab it on Amazon. She can actually flash it.
Okay.
Quick.
Yeah. When this drops here in a couple of weeks, we'll make sure to put a link. There it is. Okay. Thank you so much for that. Yeah. And we'll put it in the description here, an Amazon link in a few weeks when this drops. Let me ask you something, knowing each other's strengths, knowing each other's weaknesses for you guys. Obviously, it's really, really worked, but can you give us just one big drastic difference that you saw when you were butting heads from like after you learned those roles? Was there one big difference that you saw right away, or was it just a long-term thing?
I would say it was a day by day, step by step. And I keep wanting to use the basketball analogy just because think about it. Imagine if you got the Lakers and you got 5 Kobe Bryants on the court. And again, everybody wants to score. But nobody wants to take the ball out. Nobody wants to pass the ball. You see what I'm saying? Sure. So again, once I realized myself, I had to step back. Everybody's not meant to be a salesperson, a hunter, a killer, right? Mm-hmm. So then at that point now, once I stopped trying to press on her to let's drive sales, drive revenue, to do all of this, and she's able to do what she's naturally good at, which is relationship building, customer experience, that sort of stuff. We was getting a lot of business, but then it was a revolving door. We were losing a lot of business with everybody just being dominant the way I am. But then when she comes in as the heart, that's when you start seeing retention go up. So we would get business, but now we're retaining it. So we started visibly being able to see the impact when we was able to, throughout, just say health insurance open enrollment throughout years, and we were retaining more clients.
Sure. So you were bringing a lot of, I like to put it this way, as a former church planner, this is how we used to say it. You know, a lot of times churches are good at bringing people in the front door, but they're not closing the back door. So Rickeyta came in and helped close the back door. And that really exponentially probably your residuals, passive income, and you probably saw a big difference over time.
Right. More referrals, more all of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I listened to a statement you made that really resonated with me, and I wrote it here in my notes. It said, you need a vision for life. And you were talking in the context of how many people try to separate the business and their personal life, but you were talking about having a vision for life. Can you articulate and expound on that?
Okay. Me? You want, who you want? I mean, go.
You're the one that said it.
All right. So typically what happens is, we try to compartmentalize our lives in boxes, and we've done it too. We try to have a parent life. We try to have a marriage life. We try to have a business life. We try to have a personal life. We try to have a spiritual life, and all these different boxes. But the issue is you're one being. So if you bridge them together and you block out time like today, after this interview, we're about to go spend a whole date day together. Kids are at school, and we're literally doing date day today. Now, I have to be date night, all that kind of stuff. But the point is, we're getting work done. We're doing date day. We're going to be with the kids later. So we're actually just weaving it all in together, and we're actually consistent on making sure things are getting done together. So that's why I say have a vision for your business, for your life. It is all one thing, because the business is nothing but extension of your life. The business is a vehicle to fund your life or to get you where you want to go in life. So that's just a part of who you are.
Sure.
It's the take that we have on it.
Yeah, not trying to get in the Kool-Aid here, but what happens on date day? Is it a movie? Is it a lunch? Is it just going talking? Is it right in the park? Or you mind sharing a little details? Maybe somebody out there needs to have a date day.
I guess I kind of give it away now. Some of us surprised. But, okay. So massage. So we're gonna go get a massage. After massage, grab something to eat, and then we're gonna go see the new Batman movie.
Okay.
So we're gonna go check that out.
Yeah. I saw that with my boys last week. It was really, really good. You won't be disappointed. But it takes intentionality to do that, right? Yeah. I think there's some couples out there watching today that you're intentional about building your business, but you're not intentional about building your marriage. Right. So you got to be intentional. And I love what you're doing. You're doing a little bit of work. You're going on date day. Got the kids dropped off. It just really takes planning and be intentional about it. But what is the biggest reward that you guys have seen from being intentional about all these things? Have you just seen a thriving in all areas? Have you just seen more abundance in all areas of your life?
I would say we've seen abundance in all areas of our life, because when we prioritize, all right, God, marriage, kids, and business, when those things are in order, everything naturally flows properly and everything works together. And when we're not, we have things, when I'm putting him over God, when I'm putting the kids over business, business over the kids, everything's sacrificed. Everything is like a breakdown when it is done that way. And so we've seen just a big coming together. And when it's not done that way, it's all falls apart.
The best example I can give is like, say, where you did
No, go
I
ahead.
thought you was wrapping up. The best example I can give you, like at the end of your garage, you have those two canisters that point towards each other.
Right.
And when those are aligned and you push the button to let up the garage, it lets up, right? But if any one of those canisters are faced the wrong way and they're not aligned, you're not going to get action. So once we started aligning and making sure things are first, because again, we've had rough patches in our marriage when we were out of alignment. When we're thinking, okay, hey, we need to make sure we're making this money. We need to make sure we're paying the bill. We need to make sure we're doing payroll. We need to make sure, but we ain't prayed together. We need to make sure we got this going, but we ain't spend no time with the kids. We need to make sure we got this done in the business. We got the customer service done. We got the marketing done, but we hadn't been to church. Once we started getting out of that alignment of God, family, and then business, oh man, it can quickly start. The enemy comes in and just drive a wedge between everything, and it just blows up.
Yeah, and I believe one of the enemies and greatest weapons against us is just distractions. He distracts us from what's really important. And I used to preach it this way, that when we're aligned vertically, right, it's like everything else horizontally begins to work out. But when we're out of alignment in that vertical relationship, it all seems to go fast. I mean, go south really, really fast.
Yes.
And so obviously your guys' faith is very important to you. I mean, what role does it play in your overall business? Tell me how you incorporate your faith into your business.
Okay, well, you want me to go ahead?
No, yeah. We asked our customers, how can we pray for them? We pray before team meetings. At first, we tried to shy away from it because you know how it is in corporate. Don't mention God, don't bring up religion in the workplace and things like that. But we are a faith-based company, and so that's what it's going to be. And we do pray before meetings. We pray with our clients, and we have a prayer button on our website.
Nice.
So, you have anything else?
Yeah, I was just going to really mention about the prayer button on the website, which is huge. And then even like I say, during our account reviews, like we just continuously ask, how can we pray for you? And what can we pray for? And we've seen customers literally crying on the other end of the phone just because of us taking that time out to pray with them. And even if they bought something or not, it's just we are more, I say intentional, or we're more concerned about your spiritual world, because again, this is temporary. On this earth, you're temporary. You hear they going about tomorrow. The Bible says like a mist. So we understand that long-term, eternally, we want you to see you saved, salvation first, and then all the other stuff can come into play.
No, I go ahead.
I was going to say a big thing is that we deal with life insurance. That's a big thing. And for a prayer not to be incorporated in that is, there's some people who say they don't, but we're dealing with life insurance.
Right.
Sure. Well, I'm gonna break away from our regular schedule program again and look in the camera. Listen, I believe this is a word for somebody right now, that you've been hiding your faith. You've been allowing people to influence you that it's a negative thing. But what I have found in my life is that when you're passionate about something, when you're really passionate and people know that you really believe 150% into it, that there's not as many people offended as the enemy would like you to think there is. Would you guys agree with that, Starks?
Yes, it's all in your head. The moment the devil can cause doubt in your brain, because when you look at the root of most sins, it's doubt and unbelief. All the way back to the Garden of Eden. How did he get Eve to bite that fruit? He got her to doubt and not believe what God said. So at that point, once we understand that, it's just, hey, we bold with our faith. Anything that happens, if the customer don't buy whatever, we just know that they wasn't for us.
Yeah. And I think that's a word. Don't dilute your faith. Don't dilute it. And I have found that in my own life. My wife will tell you this as well. I can't tell you how many clients we prayed for. We had one recently whose husband left her after like 40 years together. And she came in just crying, broken. And we just said, you know what, you're here for Medicare, but we're just going to pray for you. And then to come out, her friend was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. We prayed for her. And what we have found is that people are very receptive of prayer. They want to know someone really cares about them, that someone's willing to petition the divine creator on their behalf. So it brings me great joy to know that you guys are the same way. And here's what I found out too. I love the way Eric Thomas says that prayer unlocks things supernaturally that you could never unlock on your own. Have you seen that in your own life?
Yes. Oh,
yeah. Do you have a story?
I don't know which story.
Hey, any of y'all share, man. Any of y'all share, but do you have a story? Like, is there a story that rises to the top that you go, I saw this, I stood still and I saw God working? Can you share a story real quickly?
All right. So this was many years back, and we were at a point in our business to where we were hitting the wall and finances were drying up, right? And so we were just looking at bank account, we looking at all this kind of stuff, like, man, we don't know what's going to happen. We got more month left than money left and all this kind of stuff. Like, oh man, we don't know what we're going to do. So we talking about, let's do the strategy, Like, now let's just go and go pray about it. Cause I mean, I didn't try everything I could try. I don't have nothing left. No more tricks in the bag. So we prayed about it, got on our knees, prayed about it, and did all of that. And we had a specific number in mind. Because you hear all the time people talk about you just specific number, and God came through on a specific number. So we were like, all right, so we needed $10,000. Like, that's what we needed. And so we prayed about it. And it was one night, it happened maybe 2 a.m. And one of our carriers paid about 45 to 60 days in advance. I've never seen this happen, even since that day. This has never happened again. That's what I'm just saying. That's how I know it's never happened.
Wow.
They paid us, and all of a sudden I just saw a notification come through on my phone from my bank that you have a deposit over $500 or whatever it was.
Wow.
I go in and look, and it says you have deposit $10,000. All I did was ran down.
We cried.
Stuff. I'm like, what? I'm like, bro, like, I'm blown away. I'm trying to figure it out, but again, that's just a spiritual thing. You can't figure it out in your mental, logical state.
But you know what's so cool about that? And my wife and I have seen that as we begin this new journey ourselves, is that God is just so good at reminding us of his faithfulness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. We're the ones that default to worry, get stressed out, but God reminds us in those small little ways, that he's so faithful. That's an incredible story. At the 8% virtual, I heard you talk a lot about spiritual, Anthony. I mean, both of you, but I think you took the lead on the spiritual side, if I remember correctly. And I was thinking, as you were talking, I was thinking of Ephesians 6:12-13, where Paul tells us that we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, right? And I used to say this a lot when I was preaching and encouraging people as a pastor, that a lot of times we take carnal weapons into a spiritual battle.
Exactly.
Right. And so can you expound on that, like the spiritual element of, because you were talking about don't discount that, because I think a lot of people do, right? I think a lot of people discount, and they're taking that what is the old saying? They're taking a knife to a gunfight, so to speak, right? And listen, prayer is one of those spiritual weapons that we must take into that spiritual battle. But can you expound on that just for a second, Anthony?
Okay. Yes. Again, what we tend to do in our natural state, because we operate with our 5 senses, which is hear, taste, smell, see, feel, right? So anytime we are in a situation, we're analyzing from our logical sense of 5 senses on earth, right? But again, if you're missing that spiritual sight, because anything you see is not what you really see, because you only see what you're looking for. That's number one.
That's good.
And then if all you see is what you see, then you don't see it all there is to be seen. Because again, there's a whole spiritual realm that's operating all day that you do not see. And the person said, well, how do you know that? Again, there's invisible things that's happening right now that you're participating in. Right now, I'm on my computer, right? I know I'm hooked up to the internet, but can I see the Wi-Fi? No. So I know that there's some invisible force that's happening that's powering this computer right now for us to talk. The same way how that's happening, if you really put a spiritual lens on and just look out into the world, you will see all of God's footprint throughout nature and throughout history. So again, what we encourage people to do is step back, look beyond what the eyes can see, so you can really see what there is to be seen.
Sure. So one practical tip, right? Somebody's watching this.
Okay.
And they go, how do I see like that? How do I see like the Starks are seeing? What is something just practical that they can start right now, that they can implement to help them open up that lens, if you will, or see through a new set of eyes, spiritually, so to speak?
Okay, well, I was just going to say this, because it's, again, I can't tell you something physically to do, because again, it's a spiritual thing.
Sure.
You definitely want to pray first. If you're going to ask for like step by step, pray first. and ask God to remove the scales from your eyes and the wax from your ears so that you can see and hear him move. Because he says, my sheep hear my voice. So you need to be able to clearly hear what he's saying and see what he's doing, right? So again, that's something only he can do. And then as Rickeyta just mentioned, is you read the scriptures. God's ultimate way to speak directly to us is through the scriptures. So if you read it and you'll feel it, the spirit moving, and he's going to then direct you to what's happening. And it's so crazy. The moment you read that or you listen to a sermon and you go out in life, you're going to say, man, this is exactly what that Bible story was just talking about. And you will see it. And he just gave you a warning for what was coming ahead. And so that would be, I would say, the two quickest ways to really see it and just be aware of it. Like put your spiritual awareness on. And don't just think it was an accident. It was by providence.
Yeah, no, I love that. I teach people that God's allowed me to mentor and disciple, that the content that you consume the most is ultimately what you become the most like.
Right.
Yeah.
See, some of you want to become like God or get closer to God, but you're not consuming God's content. Right. And so I love what you're saying there. So let me ask both of you this real quickly, a couple of more things, and we'll wrap up because I want you guys to get on your date day, and I appreciate you sacrificing a few minutes today. But let's start with Rickeyta. Is there one leadership principle that rises to the top of your life that you've learned, that you've cultivated in your life and that you're leading from and lead others from? Is there a leadership principle that rises to the top?
I would say a leadership principle that rises to the top for me would be to care for your people.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we're trying to build a business and try to look at what we're bringing in versus what we're giving out. We definitely have to make sure that we are, yes, we look out for the business. We have to look out for Bob, but we also have to look out for the people who are serving Bob, who are growing Bob, who's growing. And when I say Bob, book of business, that's insurance, but your business, make sure you're looking out for the people who are growing with you. Make sure that they're growing. If they're not growing personally and professionally, we always give our agents books to read once a month, a book to read that they have to develop personally and professionally. We read the 4 Agreements, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, books like that really grows them mentally. If they're not growing, we're not growing. And so I always say, look out for your people because your people will look out for you.
Yeah, that's good. Anthony, what about you? Is there one leadership principle that rises to the top that you lead from?
I would say the main thing I would say leadership is just continuously for mindset shifting, developing your mind and like growth. So that's one of our core values is growth, because as we're talking about the books, and you have to be very intentional in reading to develop, you can't do anything more or multiply if you're just doing things the same old way. Think about Blockbuster. Blockbuster doesn't exist today as they once did because they operated the same way, and Netflix came in and wiped them out. So again, it's always about growth, innovation. And so anytime you're here today, how am I better today than I was yesterday? Just a millimeter shift. I'm not in competition with nobody else. I'm just looking at myself. What am I doing today in the business better than I was doing yesterday? What am I doing today in my marriage better than I was doing yesterday? Am I giving my wife words of affirmation because that's her love language? What am I doing my team better today than I was yesterday? Did I create any kind of training video? Did I spend some one-on-one time? Did I give an announcement or something to help push them to be better? You see what I mean? So I would say that would be my takeaway is for growth, whoever's watching.
And also he downplays his system development. Like, speak on that for your leadership development.
Well, because I'm a very systematic thinker, okay? I mastered the ability to be able to solve problems through developing systems. So putting step-by-step processes in place to get an outcome. So that's one of my strengths as a leader. But again, even in that, I'm always looking, how can I grow my ability to solve problems systematically?
Yeah, and I know I just met you guys, but you guys seem to really give off this aura of excellence, that you guys really believe in excellence, that you're always wanting to grow, that you're always wanting to get better, right? Am I correct in assuming that? I could just even feel it through the Zoom, that you guys just want to be excellent in everything you do. And I believe that's part of the systems. You know, as a former church planner and pastor, I was really big into systems, having systems on how to get people from first-time guests to full-time followers of Jesus, right? And the systems don't replace the vision. They just help you expedite the vision and communicate the vision. And that's kind of what I'm hearing you say, that you developed some systems that have helped you be more excellent in your insurance agency. Am I reading that correctly?
Correct.
Yeah.
God is excellent. So, and he's inside of us. So why are we not operating in excellence?
Yeah, you guys by preaching now, we better be careful. We better be careful. I want to go back to the spiritual real quick. Two more things, if I may.
Okay.
One is, I read a quote recently, because one of the things that I've talked to Cody about is I really believe God's given me a vision to start a faith-based version of 8%, right? And would love for you guys to be part of that if we can make it work. And maybe sometime next year in the first quarter. But I believe one of the things that I see in our industry, and that's the insurance industry, whether it's life, Medicare, whatever, is that there needs to be more of that there's more than just self-confidence. I call it Christ confidence, right? But if you're not careful, what I have found myself do at seasons of time in my life is sacrificing being with God on the altar of activity for God. Right. And so I really believe there's a need for people to just go and soak, if you will, be around other like-minded believers and just really maybe even find that deep healing. And so just real quickly, and Anthony or Rickeyta, whoever feels called to speak into this, do you kind of see that need out there when it comes to not just insurance, but just entrepreneurs that a lot of time we're so driven and so productive that we can sacrifice that being with God on the altar of activity for God? Have you seen that? And if so, can you speak to that real quickly?
Okay. So yes, definitely. Because again, when you are in business, you have so many balls to keep in the air. Like you're juggling balls, juggling payroll, juggling marketing, juggling sales, juggling customer service, you're juggling all these balls, right? Recruiting, training. And what typically tends to happen is, like you say, you get so caught up with those things.
Right.
So being very intentional, like for me, routine. When I wake up, first thing I have to do before I get out of bed is I pray, right? Before I brush my teeth, before I do all that, I pray. Then I get right onto a devotional or some kind of chapter in the Bible, do some reading, and then I get out of bed. But that's very intentional to get that done first before I get started in my day. And that's just private time with God. And so even throughout the day, like sometimes if I'm driving or different things of that nature, I may not have my music on. I'm just really just trying to pray without ceasing in those moments so that I can continue to be in fellowship continuously. And so I would say that's one huge thing to keep in mind is sometimes you have to take a break and step away, because even Jesus, he would leave away from the people and go off to go pray. He would go into his own secret place to go do those things.
Yeah, no, that's so good. So good spending that time with God, because you guys know if it's just activity with no being, you get frustrated, you get burned out, you start chasing the wrong thing. Right. So let me ask both of you this, and we'll start with Rickeyta as we get ready to close here. I asked everybody this that comes on the podcast, and I want to ask the both of you. Rickeyta, if there was one word you could use to describe yourself, what would that one word be?
Oh, wait, hold on.
So many words. Which one is the top?
Yeah.
So excited. I keep using this word over and over. Excited. I'm excited about life now, life, what it's gonna be. I'm just excited about what God is doing. And that word has really been standing out to me. It's been everywhere. Excited and encouraged.
Sure.
Encouraged.
So in regards to excited, how do you think being excited has contributed to your overall success?
Being excited has contributed by getting me up daily. It's by the things that I do that moves me towards the goal that I've set out. So if I wake up and I'm excited about this goal, I'm excited that we're going to one day wake up and see the ocean every day. I'm excited about that. So I'm going to go out and do the work I need to do to make that a reality. So that's how I would say it plays into that.
Yeah, my wife would definitely love to go.
If you don't have a goal that excites you, then it's not going to.
Well, my wife would definitely love to go to the beach because that's where she wants to move to and live to. So she's excited about about that too. So Anthony, that you've had a little time to think about it. What is one word that you would use to describe Anthony?
One word, I would say confidence.
Confidence?
Yes.
Okay.
In the sense of like not allowing things to stop you, external, internal, like whatever it is, just go for it. Even if you fail, you just have to learn from it. And so to me, that's what it's all about, is just learning, like breaking out of those old customs. I know we learned in school growing up, one way, right way or wrong way, but in life, there is no right way or wrong way. It's just a way and a better way. So to me, confidence is just finding a better way. And then that's what I would say my top thing that comes to mind.
So where does that confidence come from? Obviously, spiritually, we know, but was that something you were born with? Is that something you've cultivated in your life throughout the years?
I would say a little bit of, well, a lot of definitely spiritual, because again, anything I do, I know that I'm doing it not on my strength, but on his strength. But I would say just as a person, being young and the things that I had to overcome, because again, growing up in the hood where we come from, it wasn't a lot of opportunities, there wasn't a lot of resources. So making something out of nothing a lot of times brought confidence, because all confidence really is just the memories of past successes. So as you conquer and had many successes, you're naturally going to get more confident because you have seen a consistent result as time has went on.
Yeah, that's awesome. As we close today, where can we find you guys? You're on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram?
This our PR person right here.
Okay, Facebook. We're on Facebook. We have a group. A page, the Starks Solutions page.
Okay.
And then our individual pages, Anthony Starks and Rickeyta Starks is Rickeyta, Anthony Anthony Starks. As well as on Instagram. Instagram, same thing, Rickeyta_W_Starks.
Anthony Starks. So LinkedIn, Financial Freedom Insurance. .com.
Also you can find our website at www.starksolutionscc.com.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's ARKSSOLUTIONSCC.com.
Yeah, and we'll definitely put all that in the description when this drops, and that way people can connect with you. And once again, so excited that you guys came on today. I know you've brought some serious value today. Just any last words? What if there's somebody out there today who's just on the fence, whether it's in the insurance industry, whatever industry, and maybe they're just wanting to give up, so to speak? What are some words of encouragement? It doesn't matter who wants to speak to this, that you would give to them as we close today. Is there something that you would just say, this is what I would do if I felt like giving up, or if I was being apprehensive about betting on myself?
Okay, I would say, because this is kind of the confidence development piece, is number one, change the activities that you're doing. So if you are doing whatever your routine is, change that routine up. So again, go do some healthier habits, working out, those sort of deals. But again, it's starting with, what are you telling yourself every day? Affirmations. So are you telling yourself, I'm bad, I can't do this, and you're talking to yourself negatively? Because every negative word you use to yourself, you have to use 10 positive words to cancel it out. So start talking to yourself in a positive way. I can do this. You're talking your future truth, but you're saying it in the present tense. I am successful. I am smart. I am intelligent. You're doing these affirmations daily, consistently, to break that old mode and mindset. Then you're doing different things to have healthier habits. What are you watching on TV? What are you listening to on the radio? All this kind of stuff. So now you're thinking different and you're doing different, and then you will eventually be different. So if you're going to give up, just understand you're not a bad person. You're not all of those things that you're saying to yourself. What you need to do is just change your mindset. The only difference between them and a multimillionaire is just the way they think. The information changes situations. So change the information that you're receiving, and then at that point, you'll change the reality.
Wow. Any last words, Rickeyta, that you want to, any advice, any tips?
He took my words about affirmations. I'm telling you, it will change your world.
Yes.
What you're telling yourself matters. Who you're talking to, who you're surrounded by, it matters. And so change your environment.
Yes.
And change the way you're thinking. It will. you're looking at the things that are around you in the natural, but sometimes we place ourselves in those situations.
Right.
Yes.
And we have to look at why we're doing that, because it starts with me, and then we affect we, and then we influence they. So it has to start with you and how you're operating as a person.
Yeah. Well, you guys brought some serious fire today. And I'm so thankful. I know this is going to make a big impact in the lives of people when they watch it. And listen, as we close out today, here's the bottom line. Quit speaking death over yourself today. That's really what we're saying here at the end. You have this powerful instrument called the tongue. The Bible says there's power in it of life and death. Quit speaking death over yourself and start speaking life. Here's how I live my life every day. I wake up knowing that I'm fully loved and fully accepted by a divine creator, and that all of heaven is cheering me on. And you may say, well, Rob, how do I get to that place? First step, surrender to him today. Right. Give him all your mess. Excuse me for being blunt. Give him all your crap and all your junk. Your mess doesn't scare God. He will make something beautiful out of it. So I say something, I pray that something was said today, put fresh wind in your sails to be that leader that I know that God has called all of you to be. As always, please like, comment, subscribe. That way you're notified every time fresh content like this is dropped. And so Starks, thank you guys so much for being on. I just want to say God bless you to all of you out there watching. Make it an awesome day. It's being intentional, saying I'm going to make this an awesome day no matter what happens. And we'll talk to you guys soon.